There's something inside of me that I can't turn off. A part of me that won't stop for anything. No remorse.
Cause I'm sucker for dangerous. So dangerous.
Obviously, this is a movie that is filled with a ton of awesome action sequences, but I wanted to specifically ask you about the underwater scenes because there's just some stuff there that you cannot fake. I'm hoping you can talk about those days and also just how long can you hold your breath now?
Now or then? Back then, I
Both,
was.
Yeah.
Back then, I was pretty good. I mean, maybe right under 3 minutes. Maybe, right at that. Can't remember the exact number, but we definitely spent a lot of time training just to prepare me to be able to, just deal with the stress. When you're physically exerting yourself, underwater, and you're swimming and going through obstacles, and you gotta perform mental tasks, underwater. You start to use up your oxygen fairly quickly, rather than maybe sitting still and holding your breath. You can hold it for a lot longer. Thank God my stunt team and my trainers and everybody felt comfortable enough to put me in those positions to be able to do it. So it was a lot of fun.
To speak about the collaborations, you also have Michael B. Jordan, who is not only the star of this film, but also a producer. What was it like working with him, and just how much influence did he specifically have on the John Kelly character?
Oh, but it was really, really cool from the beginning, because in the beginning, I pitched my vision on the movie. I told him I want to make a movie that is hugely entertaining, but at the same time, humanistic, meaning that I want to make a movie where you recognize the human being that is doing the action more than the action itself. So I asked him, I would love to have you playing all the action on your own without any double, any stunts. And he was enthusiastic. And the fact that he was also at the same time producer was a huge help, because it was like to have an ally split it in two, because you have not just your actor, your star that is playing, is building with you, but you have the producer that is a sort of shield.
You're getting ready to make your directorial debut. You're a producer on this film. I'm curious just kind of if you're looking at the production process differently and how you're just processing all that information going into Creed 3.
I mean, I think I'm looking at everything differently now that I'm directing. I think from top to bottom, I think producing is something I've naturally always done, but I guess it's more now in an official capacity. And when you're looked to for the answer for almost everything as a director on a project, you have to have an opinion on everything. I think it thrusts you further into the producing on another level. So, I mean, I guess to answer your question is like, yeah, I'm way more, hands-on this project than I have with anything else.
Initially, Stefano, our director, like his initial note to me was like, I just never want to know what you're thinking. I never want to know what you want. I never want to know what your intentions are. So that was always something that was in the back of my mind. I always just wanted to make sure that I was a good adversary to John, that we had good tension between us throughout the movie, and and not necessarily playing as a bad guy. He's just someone that he's an enigma, right? He's someone that you can never quite figure out, and that presented a challenge. But it was one that I felt made it worthwhile doing.
I mean, this is an intense role for multiple reasons. Like, when you were preparing, what was kind of involved with your research and your training?
Yeah, obviously I worked out with a trainer just in order to keep up with cardiovascular. We were going to be going through filming this, but also, we were working with some military guys on set to make sure that we were moving and talking and being in combat the way that was meant to be the most accurate. And then I also spent time before I got to Germany just seeking out and having conversations with men who had done for a job what Karen Greer does.
I'm curious just how early in the process you got to meet with Michael B. Jordan and just had the opportunity to discuss the relationship that exists between John and Pam.
I actually knew Michael before we filmed, and Michael is actually what he called me personally and invited me to do the role. We just spoke briefly, intensely, kind of just about grief and, how ready was I to even do this role, and if this was something that I wanted to contribute to, and what it would take to do the role, and what I was comfortable with, what I wasn't. He connected me to a Navy SEAL's wife, and I got to speak to her personally about what that experience is like being the wife of a Navy SEAL.
Was this the first time, was working on this movie the first time that you had seen Michael B. Jordan since working on Fantastic Four?
I think I'd seen him maybe socially a couple times in between. Certainly between that movie and this movie, a lot has happened in his life, and he's become like a global, like a stratospheric movie star. Through great choices and great work, of course. But a lot can change between a person from that point and this point. So I was always kind of like a little trepidatious to be like, God, I hope he's still chill. I hope he's still like a good guy. I hope he still cares about it. Who cares about what he's doing? And what I discovered was that this is a man who has doubled down on his dedication and his commitment. And he's really a man who raises up people around him. And he's a man who does it with his own identity. And he's an inspiration to me. I got to say, he's doing things that I want to do. Like he's directing films. Like I really look to him as an inspiration. And if he called tomorrow and said, I've got something else for you, I would jump, because he's a great person to work for and to be in a scene with. And he's just an overall great guy. So I'm very, very proud to know him.
What would you say was the most challenging sequence to put together? Because also, you're dealing with two separate water sequences, which are just like, that's got to be hell.
Probably, I would say the plane crash, because since we wanted to be so close to the character, to John Kelly, and the idea was to build the entire action, trying not to change too much point of view, and trying to be sticked on John Kelly's point of view. And this, of course, in the plane crash that starts from in the air and ends up underwater was kind of crazy for definition. So we built, and almost everything you see in the movie is done practically. So we had a real physical airplane, and then we have this big long tracking shot from when he's seated and when he get the water, when the airplane split in two, and then he decides to go and to immerse himself and start swimming in the fuselage that is sinking. So this sequence was absolutely crazy to shoot.
To also speak about the future, this film ends with a post-credit scene, and I promise to say this until after the film is out, but it teases the future, Rainbow Six, and I'm just curious what kind of conversations you've been having about that, and also now that Amazon's involved, if Jack Ryan could potentially be a part of that whole universe.
I think you're thinking in the right direction. I haven't necessarily had those conversations just yet. I think, really just working on trying to get this movie out, this April 30th release. We're really, really excited about it. And hopefully in the future, Rainbow Six is something that to look forward to. But the when, the where, the how, and the who is something that has yet to be determined. But I'm excited about the potential,
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed because, man, I had a ton of fun with this. And I definitely want to see more.
I'm glad. Thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Very cool.
Some situations warrant thinking outside the box. Give me a name.
You were supposed to be dead.
Give me a name.